So when I say know what transformation is a shift in the way you view the world that causes a change in your behaviors and the way you show up in the world. And it has a ripple effect, and it is a permanent shift. So it's not just like I'm trying on an affirmation and I'm going to be more positive this week, but it's actually a permanent shift that changes the way you interact with the world.
It's Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast.
I'm Darla LeDoux, best-selling author, coach, and retreat leader, and I'm on a mission to normalize transformation on the planet, one intimate retreat at a time. This show's dedicated to the coaches, consultants, healers, leaders, and light workers who are here to hold space for the truth that transforms lives and get paid for it. Expert retreat and business tips, strategies, stories, and magic. It's your weekly mini retreat delivered right to your ears. Let's do this. Hello, welcome. This is Darla LeDoux of Aligned Entrepreneurs here with this episode of Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. This is episode 16. And in this episode, we are going to talk about selling transformation. I'm going to give you a 7-step system for selling transformation. And it's really 7 things that you need to know to be effective at offering your services in a way that it creates transformation for your clients rather than just disseminating information or a product or selling your time. Okay, we're going to just take it beyond just that transaction and into the place where you're creating transformation. I hope this is exciting for you. It's one of my favorite things in the world to talk about. So the first thing when you think about selling transformation, and yes, I'm going to use the word selling. We can say inviting, offering, but really selling products that are transformational or experiences, retreats that are transformational. Is a little bit different animal, right? It's a different way of approaching things than just saying, I have this service, do you want it? And so we've got to really learn to approach it in that way. So the first step is to know what transformation is and to really think transformationally. So the way that I do that is I think in energy levels, and that an energy shift translates to all kinds of different ripple effect outcomes. And you can learn about the energy levels in episode 4. So when I say know what transformation is a shift in the way you view the world that causes a change in your behaviors and the way you show up in the world. And it has a ripple effect, and it is a permanent shift. So it's not just like I'm trying on an affirmation and I'm going to be more positive this week, but it's actually a permanent shift that changes the way you interact with the world. And I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I was overweight. I was a fat kid in elementary school. I lost weight in 7th grade, like when I hit puberty. But up until that point, the damage had been done. I felt a lot of body shame. My mom and my grandma, bless them, were always trying to correct me on what I eat. There was always this back and forth between, if something was upsetting, eat something and you'll feel better, was a message that I got. But on the flip side was, are you sure you want to eat that? Right? If you've ever watched the show This Is Us and seen their struggle with the daughter, it was kind of like that. So I carried with me as a result of this continual voice in my head that said, are you sure you want to eat that? Or eat something, you'll feel better. And there was a particular story or a moment where I got really clear that something was wrong with me, that I was overweight. And I won't go into the story of it. I think I share it in my book. But in that moment, I took on, right? Like something is wrong with me and this is something I clearly need to deal with. And now it became a part of my consciousness to where I was constantly evaluating whether or not to eat something. I did Weight Watchers. I did a variety of things. I was always counting my calories. And in my mind, first thing in the morning, my thought was about what am I going to eat today to make sure I'm a good girl in my eating. And this went on for much of my adult life until I was actually in a retreat, a transformational retreat. And we did an exercise, and I chose to look at this area of my life of food and how it was controlling me. And we did an exercise, and it's actually an exercise that I share with people in my Retreat and Grow Rich course. There's an experience library that you get as part of that course, and I share the details of the exercise there. I won't share them here. But we did an exercise where I really got that that wasn't the truth. That one possible interpretation was that something was wrong with me and I needed to be on high alert about what I eat. And I got that that was just one interpretation and it didn't have to rule me. And it really, it was the past and it wasn't true in the present. And when I say a permanent shift from that moment on, I would literally have days I would forget to eat, days I didn't pack a lunch and didn't remember that I didn't pack a lunch. So the whole awareness, and that had its own other issues that I had to work through, but that whole continual awareness of food and what I'm eating and judging myself for it was gone. Gone. That is transformation. A whole new world opens up when you can shift an old pattern. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about transformation. There's lots of ways to create it. You can create it in a retreat. You can create it in one-on-one work. You can create it by giving a service. I have a branding and design client whose work is extremely transformational. My wife, Kimmy, is a photographer and videographer. And her main gifting is that her work is transformational. The way she sees her clients and what she pulls out in them allows them to shift patterns and old ways of being just in the experience of her shoots. She's Big Mission Studios, by the way. So you have to understand what transformation is, and you have to really learn to think transformationally. So I'll use Kimmy as an example. It can be very easy for her to get in her head and go, well, this is the going rate of photography. This is the going rate of video. And to not think about the way she delivers it and the additional value it brings because she's a transformational being. She's a light worker, right? She's a bright soul that makes change everywhere she goes. And it can be super easy for her to just compare, right? Go online and go, well, this is the going rate for headshots. But that going rate for headshots has nothing to do with the transformation she brings. But she brings that transformation naturally, but really people notice it when she lets them know that this is a transformational experience. People notice it anyway, but like I often teach with retreats, we want to be focused on the context rather than the content. So you want to create a context of transformation in even the way you offer and sell your service, so people come in with the intention of shifting, of becoming a whole new person. Not that there's anything wrong with their old person, but embracing and embodying a whole new level of energy as a result of their work with you. So you've got to understand what transformation is, that permanent shift in how we show up in the world, and begin to think about it, life transformationally. I think about all of my life in cycles of transformation now, and it's so empowering because if I'm in a moment of breakdown, I actually know this is part of my way of living transformationally. Something happens that's going to spark a new level of transformation. The more you can think that way, the better. So that's step one. Know what transformation is and think transformationally. Step two is know the value of transformation. And this can look like an exercise where you're literally going through and saying, if my client gets this shift, what is the ripple effect in their life? How will it change their career? How will it change their relationship? How will it change their health? How will it change, their ability to complete their goals, etc.? and really get the value of that shift. If you shift something foundational about how someone relates to themselves, let me change that. You're not shifting it, but you're creating the container and the feedback and the validation and the insight, the truth to help them shift it. The value of that is priceless because you're changing the way they interact with life for the rest of their life. Okay, so that opens you up in terms of how you think about your pricing and the energy exchange. So I remember the first moment I really got the value of transformation. So if you know anything about my story, you know that I spent almost 10 years reading self-help books and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. It's my 10 years in the self-help aisle. And I interviewed people about their jobs. I read all the personality books, all of the profiles, all of the things. By the way, they were all pointing me right to the work that I do today. The problem was I couldn't hear it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't receive it. I couldn't believe it because I was programmed to think I have to be smart to get love. And to me, the career path of being a life coach wasn't perceived as smart and it wasn't going to get me love. So it didn't seem like a possibility. So I just kept ruling it out, even though it was staring me in the face. I was like, yeah, but what else could I do instead? So when I, in a live retreat again, really saw that all of this programming was coming from this belief I had created as a 4-year-old that I had to be smart to get love from my dad, which was totally invented. Then I was free to do whatever work I wanted. And then I could embrace this path that was really mine to do. So when you know the value of transformation, the moment I got that insight was, oh my gosh, this work that I do with people that someone else did with me in a retreat, that can save someone 10 years in the self-help aisle. And when I started to think of the value of that, like what I would have paid to not continue to cycle through that same pain over and over again, it was priceless. So know the value of the transformation and hold that in your beingness, right? When someone works with me, it's not just about the information, but it's really about them accessing parts of themselves and truths in themselves that they didn't know that they even had. And that the ripple effect of that is priceless. So that's 2. The third piece is I teach this as an analogy of your client is going from the bus stop to the destination. So it's like you're taking them on a road trip, right? And you're going from point A to point B. Point A is the bus stop. It's the place they want to leave. They're at the bus stop. They're going, hey, pick me up. I want to get out of here. So they're in a certain level of pain or discomfort at the bus stop, right? And they want to get to a certain destination. And you want to really be clear, where is the bus stop and where is the destination? What are the types of people, what's going on in their life that are the people you're best designed to serve? And what do they truly, truly desire at the destination? Those are the things you want to talk about when you're marketing your services. So you want to really know the bus stop and the destination. So when someone engages with your marketing, they're not going, oh, she's certified in this and she has a lot of knowledge in this, but they're actually going, oh, you know me, you see me, you get me, you can describe what I need better than I can. So I believe that you are an expert in helping me to solve that or helping me to close that gap. So you really want to focus on that. When you're selling transformation, what is the before and what is the after, right? This is why like before and after transformation pictures of like weight loss or makeovers or whatever are so powerful, or home remodels and all of that. You want to focus on the before and after because people can really get that and they can latch on to the value of that. So that's step 3. Step 4 is understand that your tools or how you get them there are secondary. Now, in my course, Retreat and Grow Rich, I teach people to develop what I call the rooms in your castle, which are the principles you teach or the tools you use or the way you get them from A to B. To a certain degree, you want to educate people about your way, okay? Once you've talked about the bus stop and the destination, and you've gotten them really clear that, yes, I want to get on your bus. That is what I want. You do know me. I'm a right client for you. Then the next piece is, you're going to share a little bit about how you get them there, but you're not going to go extensively into whether you do EFT tapping, whether you do, you're going to discover their core values, whether you use a certain assessment, That's like supportive information. Okay. So once they're bought in and they're like, yes, I want to make that change, I feel committed to that change, then you might share, okay, here's some of the tools we use to get there. And by the way, this applies if you're doing a registration page for your retreat, and it applies if you're in a one-on-one conversation with someone. You're really not focused on you or your tools at all until you've gotten really clear that they want to move from that discomfort at the bus stop to the benefits at the destination. Once you're really clear about that, then you can give a little supportive information, like, here are some of the tools I use. Because it is helpful for someone to know if you're super like woo-woo spiritual in your approach, and I mean woo-woo in the best way. Some people will lean in more to that. You don't want to hide it if that's your approach, but you don't necessarily need to lead with it. And someone else might be more, very practical, like, we use Six Sigma and systems to clean up your, operations, and like, it could be very practical. And those two people might offer similar transformation, but get there in a very different way, right? So you do want to give a little bit of supporting or secondary information about the nature of how you work or what you believe, so that they can say, yes, I resonate with you. Okay. And that could come in the form of your story. You've noticed I've told a couple stories already about myself in this podcast, because that's another way where people decide if they resonate with your approach or your experience or your belief system about getting there. You don't want to bring someone in for a transformation where they really have to trust you if they really disagree with your philosophies. I once worked with a client where I could see if she could just shift this, like, it would be amazing. But what I didn't pause to check was if she actually wanted to shift that, if she actually believed that shifting that would make a difference. And I learned a valuable lesson there, because it was not a good match as a client. I was very much in the spiritual and energetic thought process, even though I wasn't necessarily teaching spirituality then the way that I bring it forward more today. In the background, I knew she needed an energy shift, but she didn't want an energy shift. She didn't even believe in that, right? So you do want to give enough information that they're really on your bus and they resonate with you. Okay, so that was 4. Step 5 is you really want to understand how the ego works. You want to understand how the ego works in this process of transformation, and really understand how transformation works. So I teach about the anatomy of a transformation in episode 3. If you haven't listened to that, this would be a great episode for you to listen to next, where I talk about how to deliver transformation. So in step 5, you want to understand how transformation works and how the ego works as a part of transformation. And the ego can be thought of also as the subconscious mind. So before the age of 7, all we experience just gets, boom, programmed right into the subconscious mind without us having a choice. We don't get to say, oh, I really agree with mom on that, or I really don't think this serves me. No, it just becomes a part of who we are. And then that programming is designed to protect us and keep us safe, right? So if I decided, be quiet and keep peace as one of my strategies to survive life, and I decided that well before I had a conscious choice about it, then anything for my ego that looks like not, anything that's being outspoken and seen and bold and visible and taking up space and asking for what I need and all of those things would fly in the face of that old programming. So the moment something in my life or business is calling me to be really visible or be really bold or make waves, my ego would then go, no, unsafe. I'm going to dig in my heels. I'm not going there. I can't do that. And our egos are really interesting because sometimes we'll just be resistant, but other times we'll create drama. We'll get sick. Something bad will happen. We'll create some kind of major distraction or bright, shiny object to just distract us from the goal. So what you want to know if you're selling transformation is you want to understand that this is a part of the process, that your client's ego may come up. It may come up in the conversation with you. It may come up actually in their work with you, where you've got to hold space for them. I talked about this in episode 13. Sometimes they won't like you, but you've got to hold space for them and their transformation and really understand how to work with their ego. Their ego is not wrong. Their ego's there for a reason. It's been trying to keep them safe, and really help their ego to chill out and understand that it's safe to let go and let you behave in a whole different way, or let your client behave in a whole different way. So when you understand how that works, it's just so freeing, because if people, have an objection, or they have a question, or they're wondering about something, or they're not sure, or they're going into over analyzing, like, well, I want to do this, but can I afford it? What will people think? Well, and they're going into all of this, it's their ego. And so you can really hold space for them to get to their truth, rather than receiving all of that as if it's the truth. See, if you let their ego run the sales conversation with you, then their ego is going, okay, I'm in charge here. And you don't want their ego in charge of your coaching relationship, right? You really want them to tap into their soul and their soul's truth and make a decision from there. If they're making a decision from ego, it's going to be challenging. But if their soul makes the choice, even if their ego's really loud and giving you all kinds of objections, if you can hold for them to go past that and tune into their intuition and their truth to make the decision, even if the money comes up or the spouse comes up or all of that, that is where you want them making the decision from. But you won't do that if you don't understand how the ego works. And so you'll instead be trying to answer all of their ego's questions or objections, right? So you want to be really powerful to be able to say, I hear that, but that's really irrelevant. Or, okay, isn't that cute, all the chatter that your ego has right now? Let's tune into what your soul thinks about this decision. Or let's tune into your intuition, or let's hear what your heart has to say, because not everybody's going to use soul language, right? That's totally cool. So if you're not aware of how the ego wants to block our growth because it's doing its job of keeping us safe, you'll let the ego run the show, right? And it won't go well. You'll either have a client that, isn't committed, or that person will say no. So really understanding that is a huge piece of selling transformation. Okay. Step 6. This is huge. This is huge, huge, huge. I'll probably do a whole other podcast on this. I'm developing a whole bunch of training for my private clients around this particular topic, which is step 6 is deliver a taste of the transformation. So just like you want to understand transformation and think transformationally, you want to give people a taste of what that could look like in their life so that they're ready to come to your retreat. They're ready to lean in. They're ready to hire you because they're really getting at a core level what's possible when they shift. So a taste of transformation can be in your discovery session or strategy session, as I call them, where you're really working with them on some belief system or some part of their ego that's coming up, which happens almost always in a sales conversation if you're charging enough. So you can give a taste of transformation there, but you also want to get really good at delivering a taste of transformation in your webinars, in your videos, in the way that you work, where you're having people really try on new ideas. You're having them look in their life. You're having them own the receiving of the content rather than just having it be great information. So as an example, I might pause here and ask you, just pause and just based on everything you've heard so far, if you think about your own life and your own business and your experience right now, what's one area that if you could just shift the way you're showing up, it would change everything for you. And I'll just give you a minute to actually reflect on that and write that down. Take a few breaths. Taking breaths and tuning into your body is very helpful in getting clear about that. So what's one area that's going on in your life and in your business right now where you just know you're getting in your own way? And I want you to write that down. And now I just want you to ask yourself, if you could break through that, if you could shift that right now, if our work together could shift that, if this upcoming retreat could shift that for you, what would that make available? What would change in your life? What would that open up as a possibility if you could shift this one area? And really go ahead and write that down. Write that down. And then I'm going to ask you, what else? What else might be possible? So if you get that, what else is possible? So if you paused to do the exercise, and you can pause and do it later, simple, right? You'll start to notice that you are actually engaging in your life and looking for what shift you want to make next. You're starting to imagine what it will be like on the other side of that transformation. You're giving yourself a taste, just even in your mind. And if we had more time, we'd do a meditation and tune in and really experience that. You're really trying on what that transformation looks like. And that's going to have people lean in, and it's really going to make a difference. Step 7, the final step in selling transformation, is take a stand for them and their transformation. And what this means is, you're not going along just because it feels nice and convenient, but you're really letting them know. And this is, if you've gone through the process, I teach aligned selling to really help you know how to navigate these conversations. But if this person is a real fit, and they're a fit, and that this would have tremendous value in their life, don't be afraid to take a stand and say, I hear you. I hear XYZ is going on in your life. I hear that it seems like it's, unreasonable or impossible right now. And I know this will make a difference for you. I know it. I feel it. And I think you know it too. And so what would it be like if I just took a stand for you to actually make the decision that's in the greatest and highest good for you? And let them answer, right? You're not trying to coerce them or anything like that, but you're just saying, I want to take a stand for you. This is possible for you. It could also look like calling someone back. One of my best client success stories is someone I had to call back and say, I just, this little niggle is in the back of my mind. You need to be at this retreat. I just can feel it. And I think you're just making excuses. And if you weren't making excuses and you really trusted what you truly want, I'm curious, would you be there? And they said yes, and they figured it out and they made it happen. So don't be afraid to take a stand from someone. Transformation isn't all cozy and sweet and comfortable. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, right? So don't be afraid to take a stand for that change. And, if you're not knowing what transformation is, how it works, knowing the value, really clear about the delivery of it, and all of the things we've talked about, you wouldn't take a stand. Right? Because you wouldn't be in that place of power and clarity about your work. But if you're clear and passionate about it, you can take that stand, and you can do it in a way that's you're not trying to convince anybody. Nothing like that. Never. Right? But you're just really being clear that you're in it for them and that you feel it would serve. So those are the 7 steps for selling transformation. I hope this has been valuable. Please leave a comment or email support@alignedentrepreneurs.com and let us know what nugget you've taken away. Share on social media, spread the word. We are on a mission and we'd love to have you be a part of it. This is Darla LeDoux of Aligned Entrepreneurs and Retreat and Grow Rich, and have an amazing and profitable day. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. If so, please share your experience and spread the word. Also, please subscribe over on iTunes and leave us a fabulous review. It makes a big difference in helping to get the word out. And you can join me in my mission to normalize transformation on the planet, one intimate retreat at a time. You can find show notes from this and all of our episodes over at alignedentrepreneurs.com/podcast. If you'd like to understand the inner workings of my retreat-based business model and build your confidence in your retreat dreams, you can grab my book, Retreat and Grow Rich, over on Amazon. It's the entrepreneur's guide to powerful, profitable retreats. If you're just beginning to explore incorporating small retreats into your business model, or you've been hosting retreats for years, but they're just not as lucrative as you'd like them to be, hop on over to retreatrevenueroadmap.com. Here you'll find a fabulous free gift. It's an extensive ebook that walks you through the 3 core types of retreats and how to use them in your business model to make great money and make a big impact. In each of these retreats, I'll let you know where to host them, what to include, where they fit in your business model, and the ever mysterious what do you charge. You can find that at retreatrevenueroadmap.com.